Hi everybody, this is Naomi Renix here from Lusk Community College. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Leaving Cert history. In history, we will widen your perspectives and you'll develop empathy for others. We'll challenge your opinions and your preconceived notions of the world in which we live in. And we take an evidence-based approach at investigating how that world works. And you'll see how today's headlines and movements are rooted in the past. Will help you to separate fact from conspiracy theories and fake news. Students cover 5 topics in Leaving Cert history, 2 from World Studies and 2 from Irish Studies. In the World Studies, we look at dictatorship and democracy and the United States and the world. In the Irish topics, we look at sovereignty and partition and politics and society in Northern Ireland. And students complete a research study report which is worth 20% of their Leaving Cert grade. This research can be on any topic that the students choose of historical significance. So what exactly is involved in these topics? Each topic has 3 core case studies that need to be covered, along with key personalities that will be discussed. So for example, in the United States and the world, we look at Lyndon Johnson and the Vietnam War, we look at the moon landings, and we look at the Montgomery bus boycott. In dictatorship and democracy, you have fascist regimes in Europe. So we look at Mussolini's Italy and the Nazi state under Hitler. We look at communist Russia and we cover the case study of Stalin's show trials. And we also look at anti-Semitism and the Holocaust during World War II. The pursuit of sovereignty and impact of partition topic allows us to look at the 1916 Rising, War of Independence, all the way up to the treaty negotiations. And it continues into the impact of partition and creation of Northern Ireland and how Ireland emerges from World War I and II. Each year there is a compulsory element on the Leaving Cert history paper, and for those choosing history this year, that will be politics and society in Northern Ireland. So we look at religious affiliation and cultural identity in the north, we look at the emergence of the Troubles and the Civil Rights Movement, and we look at the impact of the Troubles, so terrorism from the Republican and Loyalist sides and the attempts of peace later on. So what does assessment at Leaving Cert look like? Well, students complete their research study report before the exam. That is submitted around Easter time and it's worth 20% of their grade. In the exam, students answer 4 questions. One of those questions is compulsory every year, which is a document-based question. And as I mentioned, the one that is compulsory for those entering Leaving Cert this year will be Northern Ireland. Students also then answer 1 essay from a choice of 4 in each of the other 3 topics that I mentioned. The most frequently asked question we get from students considering Leaving Cert history is, what could I choose for my research study? Well, here you have a list of previous RSOs chosen by our past pupils in Lusk Community College. And you can see that they are enormously diverse and it showcases the interests that those students had. It needed to be any topic of historical significance up to 1992. Some students chose topics that were close to their own family history or to their local history. Others chose topics that might be closely linked to what we study in our curriculum in the classroom, and others chose entirely different topics that we would never have looked at as part of the curriculum. So you've got topics here that go from things like Coco Chanel and Pele to Ford TT, Oscar Wilde. You've got Al Capone and Galileo. You've got Pablo Escobar, and you've got Yugoslavian dictatorships. So really it is enormously diverse and it's a great opportunity for students to delve into a history that they find interesting. So what would the exam look like? Here you can see 2 questions from the Leaving Cert paper of 2019. You can see that one section is for the pursuit of sovereignty and the impact of partition, one of our Irish topics. And you can see that some of these topics here or questions would have been familiar to any of the junior cycle students. So like the 1916 Rising or the War of Independence. Dictatorship and democracy then as well, you've got life in Mussolini's Italy or in Stalin's Russia and Hitler's foreign policy. Again, familiar topics from junior cycle, but students get to delve a little bit deeper into these. Now students only have to choose 1 essay from each of the topics. covering, as I mentioned, 3 essays and 1 document-based question overall. There is this preconceived notion that history is a difficult subject to achieve in, and we want to dispel this myth. History students consistently outperform those of other subjects when you look at the average CAO points achieved. If you go onto careerportal.ie, you can see the results year on year for higher level and ordinary level history is above and beyond what students are achieving for geography, sciences, business and languages. So it is definitely a subject that students can achieve at both higher level and ordinary level. On the right hand side, you can see specific results to Lusk Community College from the last examination in 2019. You can see that we were 15% above national average for H2s and 3s in higher level, and 5% above for O2s and 9% above for O3s in ordinary level. We were really proud of these results, and we would love all students to consider history as a subject that can bring real success. So why choose history above others? So to understand any of the changes in culture or society, politics or economics in today's world, you can't ignore the past that drove these movements. You can see that there are many potential careers that you could go into from studying history, and that's because of the skills that we develop while we study the subject. So you learn effective communication, thinking independently, research skills, empathy, and approaching issues from diverse viewpoints, to name but a few. So you've heard my pitch for taking history for Leaving Cert. How about we give you a little snapshot from Bobby, Sean and Megan, who completed their Leaving Cert in 2019, and they gave us their opinions on what Leaving Cert meant for them.
If I was a third year thinking about studying history, I would definitely do it, because I think it has a broad range of lots of different subjects. It goes into areas of business and the economy. It goes into social politics and just general politics and how the world works. It's really good. My favourite part of history is the social politics and American history. So during the 60s, there was just social revolutions going on, and that's probably my most interesting part. And then another good thing about studying history is you have the RSO project. So you can basically pick anything you want to study and you get to write an essay on that, which is really good because it's a good percentage of the Leaving Cert. And I think what separates Leaving Cert history from Junior Cert history is that it's more modern. So you study things that have happened in the last century, so it's more relatable. And also it's not just relaying facts that you've learned, you're actually evaluating and trying to understand and comprehend why these things happened.
I chose history as a Leaving Cert subject because throughout Junior Cert it was the one subject that I loved going back to, I loved learning about. I loved the social and economic side of history, the relationships between different countries in the past and how it affects today's society. As well as that, I love European history in particular, around World War II. I just love looking at the contribution certain key personalities made to that time period and how to this day it still affects us. For my RSR project, which is worth 25% of the Leaving Cert exam in history, I chose Jesse Owens, who's an Olympic sprinter in the 1936 Berlin Olympics, and how he overcame racial barriers at the time period to win 4 gold medals. So I found that particular topic interesting, and I love the freedom you kind of get with that you can choose a time period in history that you really like and enjoy, and you can work and do your own study and research and develop that kind of area, and it works into a lot of other subjects, particularly English has great crossover with history. So
I think history provides the perfect opportunity for students to understand why the world is the way it is. There's such a wide range of subjects that we cover in history, and it's just really interesting, especially if you're into social justice, politics, English. History is like a big English story, which is why I find it really nice. There's lots of essay writing required, which I find kind of cool because you get to expand on your English knowledge and abilities. And probably one of my favourite parts of history would be the RSO, because it allows you to research what you're interested in, and a subject that I like in history would be maybe the Montgomery bus boycott.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time to look through this video clip. If anybody has any more questions on what Leaving Cert History has to offer, please speak to any of our teachers. We have a really passionate department in Lusk Community College, so please speak to myself, Miss Blanche, Miss O'Reilly, Mr. McHugh or Mr. Hearn if you've got any questions, or you can drop us an email at the addresses below.